Hello, I'm Anne Lee, and I have recorded for you another in my series of podcasts for Baking with Anne. Today I will describe to you how to make the traditional Cornish pasties. Firstly, I will list all the ingredients you will require. I will then describe step by step how to make the pastry, prepare the filling and put it all together and bake. Baking with Anne. Welcome to my baking podcasts. Today I'm going to describe to you how to make a classic Cornish pasty. People are often afraid to attempt Cornish pasties because they appear complicated, but believe me, they are not. The ingredients you will need are, for the pastry, a pound of strong bread flour, 4 ounces of vegetable shortening or suet, a teaspoon of salt, 1 ounce of margarine or butter, 6 ounces of cold water, 1 egg beaten with a pinch of salt. For the filling, you are going to need 12 ounces of good quality beef skirt, rump steak or braising steak, 12 ounces of waxy potatoes, 7 ounces of swede, 6 ounces of onions, some salt and freshly ground black pepper, and also a knob of butter or margarine. Tip the flour into the bowl and add the shortening, a pinch of salt, the margarine or butter, and all of the water. Use a spoon to gently combine the ingredients, then use your hands to crush everything together, bringing the ingredients together as a fairly dry dough. Turn this dough out onto a clean work surface. There's no need to put any flour or oil on the surface because it's a tight rather than a sticky dough. Knead the dough to combine the ingredients properly. Use the heel of your hand to stretch the dough. Roll it back up into a ball, then turn it, stretch it and roll it again. Repeat this process for 5 to 6 minutes. The dough will then start to become smooth as the shortening breaks down. If the dough feels grainy, keep working it until it's smooth and glossy. Don't be afraid to be rough with this pastry, and you'll need to use a lot of pressure and work the dough vigorously to get the best results. When the dough is smooth, wrap it in cling film and put it in the fridge to rest for 30 to 60 minutes. While the dough is resting, peel and cut the potato, swede and onion into cubes of about ½ inch square. And you also need to cut the beef into similar sized chunks. Put all 4 ingredients into a bowl and mix together. Season well with salt and some freshly ground black pepper. Then put the filling to one side until the dough is ready. Lightly grease a baking tray with margarine and line with baking or silicone cone paper. Do not use greaseproof for this. You need to preheat the oven to 170 degrees centigrade or 150 if you've got a fan oven, which is 325 degrees Fahrenheit or gas mark 3. Once the dough has had time to relax, take it out of the fridge. The margarine or butter will look chilled, giving you a tight dough. Divide this into 4 equal sized pieces and then shape each piece into a ball. Then, using a rolling pin to roll each ball into a disc roughly 10 inches wide, which is roughly the same size as a dinner plate. Spoon a quarter of the filling onto each disc. Spread the filling on one half of the disc, leaving the other half clear. Put a knob of butter on top of the filling. Now carefully fold over the pastry, join the edges and push with your fingers to seal. Crimp the edge to make sure the filling is held inside. You can do this either using a fork or by making small twists along the sealed edge. Traditionally, Cornish pasties are around 20 crimps, but I don't think you need to bother about this. And then turn the corners underneath the pasty. Put the pasties onto a baking tray and brush the top of each with egg and salt mixture. Bake on the middle shelf of the oven for about 45 minutes or until the pasties are golden brown. If they aren't browning, increase the oven temperature by 10 degrees centigrade, 25 degrees Fahrenheit for the last 10 minutes of the cooking time. You must bake them for at least 45 minutes to ensure the filling is properly cooked. Remove from the oven, place to cool on a cooling tray, and then eat and enjoy. Hello, I'm Anne Lee, and I have recorded for you another in my series of podcasts for Baking with Anne. Today I will describe to you how to make the traditional Cornish pasties. Firstly, I will list all the ingredients you will require. I will then describe step by step how to make the pastry, prepare the filling and put it all together and bake. I decided to produce a podcast describing how to make Cornish pasties. I implied that this was one item in a series called Baking with Anne. The reason for choosing this subject is that I am very interested in cooking, because in a previous life I trained as a demonstrator in cooking and home economics. I chose pasties because the length of the recipe and instructions was sufficient to fit in with the time required for the podcast. I searched the web for free and royalty-free sound effects. I located some on the website www.freesfx.co.uk/sfx. They asked to be mentioned in the credits. A script was prepared for a smoother delivery of the narration, limiting the frequencies of the ums and ahs, which is inevitable when someone is not proficient in broadcasting. I experienced a bit of difficulty in getting the mic to work on the computer. The Integral one did not produce satisfactory quality, so I had to use a separate mic. After recording using Audacity, which is a free to download software, I began editing. This again presented a few problems in that I could not identify exact locations, as it would always go to the nearest second. This was later resolved when I discovered that the Snap To box had been ticked. Issues are only to be expected with free software. To avoid this, you need to use more professional programs that have to be purchased and are usually quite expensive. But this was adequate for my needs. I cited one or two sound effects in the narration. The others I placed so that the sound would be in the background whilst I was talking. The editing features allowed me to stretch the timeline so that I could identify any sounds, such as an intake of breath, and delete them. It was also possible to increase or decrease the volume as necessary to make a more pleasing listening experience. This also enabled fading in and out of sound effects. This was a challenging but rewarding assignment.